Hello, this is Courtney Linda,
Danielle Courtney.
Linda Yunjin.
and you're listening to the For a New Humanity podcast on Earth Management TV. Today's topic is consciousness. Does it really matter?
First of all, can we talk about what consciousness is?
Yes, that's probably a good place to start. There are many definitions and ways people describe consciousness, but one definition we found from Very Well Mind is consciousness is the awareness of your thoughts, feelings, sensations, memories, and surroundings.
That's an interesting definition.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like it's like a state of being awake, maybe a state of being aware. It seems like it's how you perceive things.
Right. And then there are different levels and degrees of how much one is awake or aware, and how deeply one perceives things. Like colors, it's not just black and white. There's a whole spectrum, just like colors, like consciousness. So one side of consciousness might be asleep or unconscious. And then the other side is being aware of everything, which people commonly call a state of enlightenment, where you see beyond your immediate reality. And then, of course, there's everything in between those two extremes.
Okay, so then I guess if we look at the question of today's podcast, like, does consciousness really matter? Then we can say that it matters a lot. Because depending on what our level of consciousness is, that's going to affect how we feel, how we see things, and then how we behave. Right? So our behaviors then affect everybody around us. So I guess depending on how asleep or how awake we are, this then shows like the different kind of choices that we're making. When we can see a wider picture, like when we can zoom out have a big consciousness, then we can see the whole picture. I think whole is a good word, right? And then we can embrace. Like more naturally, a feeling of oneness arises when we see a big picture. We want to embrace everyone because we have more compassion, more understanding. Whereas conversely, if our consciousness shrinks, our perspective becomes more small, our sight becomes more narrowed, and then it's more like me, or just my things, and there's more separation and therefore more division, which leads to more conflict among us, which is unfortunately what we see a lot of in the world today.
Yeah. And I think the way you described it becomes really obvious that consciousness is important and actually could be the solution to a lot of the division and the conflicts we're seeing today. If we all expanded, if we all could see beyond this kind of narrow scope and the big picture.
Yeah.
You said.
Yeah, definitely. Because our consciousness, the level that we're at affects each other, right? So if I see big and then I'm more embracing, I'm more loving, and I'm putting out a more kind of positive, loving sort of vibration out there, right? And then not only my actions and behaviors are going to influence you, but also just like that feeling, right? That state of mind, that vibration. So if I'm in a really good mood and I'm full of joy and love, and I come into the room like that, you're going to be affected by that. And you're going to feel that also, right? And then same thing if if my consciousness is more dark. So that could be like a brighter state of consciousness. But then if I'm more kind of narrow focused and darker, maybe sad or full of anger, and I come into the room, that vibration is also going to affect you. So this is how our vibrations, our consciousness is totally affecting each other. So I completely think it's really critical and essential thing that's needed for creating a better world.
Yeah, I agree. So we're also, there's conversations, people are starting to talk about raising consciousness or higher consciousness, or you said bright consciousness. So let's talk about that for a minute. How can we raise our consciousness and what does that even mean?
Yeah, so I want to chime in on this one. I think raising consciousness is kind of like upgrading your information about yourself. So your internal information, self-talk, and that information you have about the world, how you perceive the world. Do I perceive it in a negative way or a positive way? And then I think if you're somebody who sees yourself and sees the world in a negative way, raising the bar a little bit so that you could be a little bit more positive, a little bit more optimistic, a little bit more loving, and then going up from there. But I want to mention that I think the first step to raising consciousness for anyone is first and foremost accepting that what I believe in myself and others is not absolute. Because a lot of the times people think my way or the highway, my religion is better than your religion, my land is more precious than your land, my people are saved and your people are not saved. Like it's very like my idea is fixed and there's no room for flexibility. But if we can first and foremost accept that, yes, I have a belief, but that belief is not absolute, and that there are other colors in the spectrum, other ways to see the same thing, then it gives room for flexibility. And if there's room for flexibility, there's room for movement up the ladder of higher consciousness, so to speak. So I think I just wanted to point out that I think the chaos and the conflict that's happening now is because people are not budging their ideas and saying, mine is better than yours. And I'm not willing to accept that maybe my thoughts are not right, or maybe my thoughts are not as hard or fixed as I believe that they are.
Right. So again, I feel like that kind of attitude is like causing so much of that division. It keeps us small and unable to have compassion and understanding, or even listen and have like healthy conversations about other people's perspectives and ideas. So I think that's definitely causing like a kind of a sickness in humanity today. And so again, like each one of our individual consciousness is so important, and all the individual consciousnesses together makes one collective consciousness, right? So we're affecting the whole here. And when we say collective consciousness, when I'm talking about collective consciousness, it's, referring to our common collective ideas, attitudes, and beliefs of a whole, group or organization or society, knowledge, or use the word information that's shared among those larger groups, or even we can say there's a collective consciousness among all of humanity.
Right. And a great example of how collective consciousness can have a positive impact is through the Maharishi effect. This was a well-known scientific study that took place in Washington, D.C., 1993. And this study involved about 4,000 meditation practitioners, which was less than 1% of the city's population. And they found when they meditated, there was a highly significant decrease in violent crimes.
Wow.
Yeah. The maximum decrease being about 23%. Wow. That's kind of intense. Wow. So this was the belief that when a critical mass of people raised their consciousness, raised their vibration through meditation, and they were doing it together at the same time, I think that was also important. It created this field of consciousness or energy with peaceful and relaxing vibrations that naturally lower the number of crimes.
Wow. That's really, really hopeful. I think it's really, it's like a really good way of putting it, how our consciousness affects our energy, basically, right? And so it affects our energy, the energy we put out there, the feelings we put out there, the mood we set, and then again, as I said before, the things we do, right? The way we behave. So when the consciousness comes up higher and it gets brighter, then inside of, if the collective consciousness is brighter and more positive, inside of that collective consciousness, then we can't help but do actions that are more positive or peaceful actions. So for instance, crime, as you just shared, like crime cannot take place in that higher state of consciousness just because we don't feel inclined towards those behaviors. We're not feeling that vibration. But when it drops, that's when we become more inclined to those kind of negative or like that darker consciousness that then is going to cause more like unhealthy behaviors.
So if we tie that back into this thing, earth management that we talk about on our channel and new humanity that we've also been talking about, then it gives us a very large perspective on how we can see the earth and see all of humanity together, because it gives us a way to see how we're connected. We say that we're affecting each other and we know that we get affected by each other, but then how does that happen? And the key is consciousness. So it's the energy that kind of ties us all together. That could be kind of said in a more scientific, concrete way, like consciousness.
Yeah, I feel like the mind of an earth manager is a really high level of consciousness. It's a really big and wide, because you're thinking about the whole earth, all of humanity.
and everybody on it.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, we will be focusing our efforts on offering space for people to meditate together and
Mhm,
create this
mhm.
kind of a higher level or brighter field of consciousness to have a positive impact on the earth.
Yeah.
So we'll be sending energy to ourselves, our families, for humanity to find more peacefulness, for the earth to really recover from the damage we might have inflicted
Mhm.
on her, and heal. So we hope that those efforts will help raise our collective vibration, in addition to the actions we still need to take care of the earth.
Yeah, that's great. So is the idea that the more people who join, then the more powerful of an energy field of bright consciousness that we can create together,
Right.
right? This is the
Right.
idea. Yeah, I think that's a really amazing thing for us to come together for. I hope people can really gather for that kind of cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope people can get excited behind this idea,
Mm.
because it first takes that like excitement and like, oh, I want to join in on that,
Mm.
that we can create this kind of better future, higher consciousness that we're talking about, because there is a strength in numbers. The more people who are on board with this, the bigger the net, the bigger the field, the bigger the effect that we have on the earth, which is why we're sharing about this through the podcast or the YouTube channel so that we can get the idea out.
Mhm.
And if you resonate with it, then get on board so that we can all be part of this like movement to help bring about better energy, better light, more love, more acceptance, that we all, at the end of the day, no matter what belief, we all want that on
I
earth.
think so too.
Yes.
Yes. I think so.
Yes.
So I hope that inspires you all to join us. If you're not already, to find us on Earth Management TV, our YouTube channel, to check out those meditations and be notified about them in the future. And we want to thank you guys for being here. We love to hear from you guys. So please drop us a comment. Anything you guys also want to hear or share more about. We love to hear from that too. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.
Bye.